Hi everybody, and welcome to Money Man and Money Boy Show. We've got Ollie Keohane in the studio today. Ollie, how's it going?
Good, thanks. How you doing?
Living the dream. No electricity, no alcohol, and no cigarettes. So how could it get any better?
Amazing detox.
Yeah. How'd you do last weekend?
1 from 1. You mentioned it in your story on Monday. I told you I got a bit greedy on my 1 from 1. I'd initially called the Hurricanes called the handicap, -1.5. They went up early. Lamapi was on fire, upped it to -4.5. About halfway through the game, could have cashed out when it looked like they were going to, and then I thought, no, I'll keep it in, and then ended up covering that 2-point spread. And I sort of just threw everything out the window pre-match within the first 10 minutes of the match. And I mean, you've always said, like, you got to be careful with that because there's a natural ebb and flow to a game, so take into account what you actually think is going to happen before rather than seems enticing. That
is one of the difficulties in in-run betting, is people tend to overreact to a segment of the game.
Yeah.
So if there's a 5-10 minute spell where the home team, or say the Crusaders, look like they're on the attack and you think it's just going to be one-way traffic, but there are natural ebbs and flows to a game, and it's played over 80 minutes.
For sure.
And teams do come back, do gain possession. So it's the danger of in-run betting is overreacting.
Definitely. I think especially with these New Zealand games is you actually, before 60 minutes, it could go kind of either way. It's usually at around 60 minutes that the momentum seems to shift in the recent games,
Yeah.
And I mean, I was like putting on that new bet at like 12 minutes into the match. So
Yeah, always dangerous.
Live and we learn.
So you got a bit greedy.
A little bit.
And how are you finding this week's games? What are you thinking?
I think that the Crusaders, that they're hosting the Hurricanes. I think they've been favoured by a bit too much.
Favoured by 11.5 points.
11.5. I think it'll be 9 or 10 point win potentially to the Crusaders, maybe even just a try. So I think I might be taking the Canes at plus 11.5.
Yeah.
The conservative bet, and then just staying away from the Chiefs. I think I've just decided to kind of stay away from betting on them. I think anyone who bet on them last weekend must have been heartbroken.
Well, they probably would have been on their way to collect their winning ticket and only be told by the bookies that it's a losing ticket. I mean, what do you think of Gatlin?
I don't know. It's interesting. I mean, he's obviously with the Lions next year, came in just for this year, then he's going back to the Chiefs after that. But it's, it started badly and just ended up like, it seems like it's spiraling results-wise, but aside from last weekend's game, they've looked like on the verge of winning the whole time. It's been tight games. You think, they'll sort of scrap it out. But then at the end of the day, they've lost. So, I mean, if you look at his record, it's what, six losses so far in Super Rugby. So, I don't think much of him as a Super Rugby coach at the moment. But it's maybe his sort of focus immediately has shifted to next year or rebuilding for, the 2022 season for the Chiefs. I'm not sure.
Yeah, I'm sure the Chiefs fans. Well, I don't know why he took the job. He had a good gig with Wales, the third best team in the world, and he goes back to coach the Chiefs. And it's the one thing about life is it's always what have you done for me lately? And 6 losses. At some stage, the voices will start to grow louder, the dissension will start to get stronger, and you've got to be accountable. You can't lose 6 games in a row without some sort of
I think
consequence.
Your name only counts for so much, And at the end of the season, if the results aren't there, people will kind of...
Well, it's going to... If Foster stumbles out of the gate with New Zealand, what are they going to do? Put Gatlin in? Yeah. I mean, the stock that keeps rising and rising is Robinson.
Yeah, but they'll put anyone in except him, it seems.
Until he stops breakdancing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What are your thoughts for this weekend's games, though?
Look, I think the bookies have handicapped the games well. 11.5 and I think 8.5 for the Blues.
Yeah.
The Chiefs, again, it's just one of those teams that put the derbies, New Zealand derbies have been close, so 8.5 to me and 11.5 seem a bit high.
Yeah.
I would probably agree with you on, I agree with you on the 11.5. I think it's a little too high for the Crusaders, especially with the games that they've been playing lately, against the Blues and whatnot. So I like the Hurricanes at plus 11.5, and the Chiefs Blues I won't touch. You know.
You're going to be up at 20-6 watching that? Or?
No, no.
Yeah.
I'll record it and watch it later. But no.
Okay,
no.
so we're sort of in agreement about the match which we'll be betting on.
Yeah, we are.
Saturday.
We are in agreement about
I think
that.
with the Blues as well. I mean, like the teams are only going to get announced tomorrow, because it's a Sunday match, and the Blues are missing a few key players when they played the Crusaders. Not the Crusaders. Yeah, when they played the Crusaders 2 weekends ago.
Mm-hmm.
And we'll have to see if those guys are back as well, you know, and what the Chiefs team looks like, because a few players do make a big difference to the game.
Yeah, and some people say to me, can I get my picks out on Thursday? The reality is you can't get your picks out on Thursday if you don't know what the team is. That's not responsible gambling.
Not at all.
You know, you've got to know what teams are out there and make your selection from there. So I'll write my predictions for the games, and I think this year now I lost my rugby game last weekend, so I'm 12 and 3.
Yeah, you're allowed to have a loss every now and again.
I am, yeah. But should be an interesting game. Are you taking any of the Australian stuff? I mean, that stuff's been turgid.
Did you see Richard Keohane starting for the Force, the ex-All Black winger, 35 now? I think they're being captained by Jeremy Thrush, ex-All Black lock.
Wow.
But yeah, I mean, I've had no interest in the Australian rugby, to be honest. So it would seem a little bit irresponsible to kind of start venturing there. If I'm awake and I'm watching one of the games and there's a decent in-game bet that I see value in, I might place it. But otherwise, I think I would rather slowly work up on the games that I'm interested in and sure about than placing any throwaway bets.
You don't have to bet on every game, Ollie. There's no rule on any of the websites that I know that say you have to bet on every game.
I mean, the first video we shot, you said money that you don't bet is money that you haven't lost. So, look at it like that.
Yeah. Well, let's hope it's a good weekend, and good luck with your selection.
Good luck to you.
Thanks, Ollie.
Thanks, Greg.